Now, if you have a Mercedes-Benz like this one here, you've probably seen the multitude of buttons on your climate control. But do you know what they all do? And more importantly, why do these central vents here sometimes work and then sometimes don't work? Like for example right now, I've got the heating on, it's 22 degrees, 23 degrees. Heat is coming out of the side ones, but nothing out of the front. There's method in the madness. I'll explain why in just a minute. Okay, so Mercedes-Benz offer different types of climate control. So for example, on this car, the A-Class, you can get it on single zone climate control and then also dual zone, meaning two sides. And some models of Mercedes even go to tri-zone, quad zone, and I think even there might be a model out there with 5-zone climate control as well. Oh, the luxury life. But most importantly, this car has physical buttons to control the climate control. Some models out there are also touchscreen based, which I will show later in the video, so don't worry, I'm not going to leave you out. But first up, let's show you what the buttons do. Now by default, when you jump in for the first time, this is what it's going to look like. You'll see it will say 22 degrees either side. This is of course if you have dual zone climate control. Now running through two buttons first, the left hand side just over here is for the passenger side, then the right hand side is for the driver's side. So very, very easy, but that brings us neatly onto the next button, which is the sync button. Now sync is basically zone, like dual zone climate control. It syncs all the temperatures in the car. So if the passenger changed, I don't know, this one here, and you'll notice now on the screen, I've got 18 degrees on the left and then 22 on my side. If you sync them together, basically, it will take whatever the value is on the right-hand side, on the driver's side, and put it over to the passenger side. And now, whenever I adjust the driver's side, as long as you've got sync enabled, it will do the whole car, regardless, of course, if you have dual zone, tri-zone, or quad zone, or anything, all of the above, basically. Now, not all models of Mercedes have a sync button. Sometimes it's on the menu button, which you'll actually find on the left-hand side just there. All these buttons you see on the climate control can be controlled on the menu button. So you've got fan speed and auto, fan speed and demisting buttons, which we'll get onto in just a second. But if you press menu, you can do everything on the buttons there on the screen up here. So in this car, it's the best of both worlds. But as I mentioned, there's that sync button just there, just in case there isn't a physical button for sync. So what about all the other buttons? Well, the one after the menu button is the fan speed. Now this is literally just controlled by moving up or down like this. And this is actually controlling the automatic fan speed. See, I've got auto on at the moment, which brings us neatly onto the next button, the auto button. Now auto does what it says on the tin. It is controlling the fan speed automatically, but you do have different parameters. So this is low auto, kind of a midway auto, these two just here, and then the higher auto. So these control the fan speed manually while a bit of auto is happening as well. If you don't want that and just literally want to control the fan speed completely manually, if you toggle off auto, now you have anything from blower 1 all the way up to 7. But for now, I'll just pop that down on the lower one just while we do this video. Now, did you know that while you're on a phone call, if you have it on auto, it will actually reduce the fan speed while that call is taking place? So pretty cool, just helps you hear, I guess, on the phone. Now the button after this is max demisting for the front. Now one thing to note on this button, we will get onto the air conditioning button in a minute, but max demisting does max heat up to the front here and of course the side vents, but it also does aircon as well. And as I said, we'll get onto aircon in a second. Even though you press this, it doesn't look like aircon's on. It is in fact actually on. And again, one press to turn it off. Now hopefully everyone knows what the next button is. That is the hazard switch, not related to climate control, but that's just where it is in this car. And then the one after that is the heated rear window switch. Now this actually also does the mirrors as well, if you didn't know, but it's a simple press on and simple press off. It does actually go on a timer for, I think it's like 10-15 minutes or so, and it will just toggle off afterwards. The button after this is the recirculation button. So yes, if you want to stop any bad odors or bad smells, say there's smoke outside for some reason, you can press this button and it will block off all the vents and just recirculate the air on the inside. Now the button after this is air conditioning. Now we all do associate air conditioning with the cool breeze, the cool air you get out of systems, and we usually use aircon in the summer, if we ever get summers in the UK. Yeah, we don't ever get summers. But one thing that a lot of people don't know is they actually sometimes turn off aircon in the winter. Which you might be thinking, well, yeah, I don't need cold air coming out the vents in the winter. The amount of times that I've seen people in a modern car and they have like a cloth or something and they're frantically wiping the windscreen to get all the moisture off. I just sit there and just think, what are you guys doing? if you put your aircon on, you can use it with any temperature. It does not have to be with cold. You can use it with warmth. So for example, I've got aircon here at the moment, although the engine is off. But yeah, I will not get any misted up windows. So the best settings to have, really, my recommended settings, have it in auto, have it at your preferred temperature, make sure sync is on, and then make sure AC is on as well. This will make sure all the windows are demisted, so you won't have any misted up windows. You might get it like if it's raining outside and then you jump in the car for the first time, but if the car's been on for a few minutes or so, you just won't have any misted windows. It will clear all automatically. So of course I did mention that menu button. Menu's on the left hand side here, and of course on the screen here you can see everything that I've just literally gone through. You have the passenger temperature there, where to adjust the air, and of course on the driver's side there you can adjust the temperature there, and you can turn it on and off on there as well. You might be wondering, well, how do you turn it on and off without going into menu? You can do that. If you notice on the fan speed there, it's got 3 segments and then off. You just have to press this a few times and eventually it will go off. Now some of you might be wondering the answer to the question that I asked at the start of the video. Why is it in Mercedes-Benz cars that, for example, I mean, what is it at the moment? 9.5 degrees outside, it's pretty chilly, and there's still a bit of heat in the, or residual heat in the engine at the moment, so I can feel the warmth coming out of the vents, but nothing in the middle. So it's up here, over there, a bit down here, nothing in the middle. As I said, there's method in Mercedes-Benz's madness for this, and it's to do with how heat rises. And I should add, you can override this if you want to. So if I select cold, let's put it onto like, I don't know, 16 degrees. Now the vents will change and there'll be air coming out of here, and any second, now there's air coming out of here. So nice and easy. Why is it then, when you go to put it on warm, that these close off? It's basically to stop you getting a hot head because, as we all know, heat rises. So if you have warm air coming out of here, it's literally going to go here and then just linger around here and basically give you a hot head, your head being the highest kind of point in the car. So what happens is these vents close off and the heat will come out of the side vents. It will come out of the top here to keep the windscreen nice and clear. And then most importantly, it will come out underneath. And because it comes out underneath, all the kind of hot air comes out under here and it slowly rises, evenly distributing it around the cabin. So that's why it doesn't come out of these front vents here. Now, as I said, you can override this if you want to. There is one use case I can think of right now because my hands are mighty cold from it being pretty chilly outside. If you press menu and then go and select this button here, which is basically just to select where the air goes, this will turn off auto for where the air goes out automatically. But now it's going to come out here and now I can warm my hands up. So that is one way of doing it. I can understand why someone might want to change it there, but otherwise if you leave it on auto, the car will literally just control the whole amount. Cold air will come out of all the vents on the front, but warm, more specifically, will come out of the top, sides and bottom just to evenly distribute that air around the cabin. Mercedes-Benz think of everything these days. Right, up next, let's have a look at what happens if you have rear climate control, and of course also if you have a car with that central screen in the middle, and of course electric cars as well. This won't take very long because they're very, very similar to the one I've just gone through here. So if you have a car with a touchscreen just like this here, you'll notice that along the bottom of the screen is your climate control. So notice if I turn the screen off, everything down there is the back button, the home screen, previous track, next track, then most importantly the rest is all climate control. It stays in the same place, which is pretty good. So when it's on, it's going to look a little bit like this just here, and you adjust your temperature up and down like this. Same rules apply, sync is enabled, so it's going to do both at the same time. As I mentioned, if you go into the climate menu, you can adjust all of this in here. Now this car's quite special, I've just spotted something. This has a heated steering wheel. I wish I had that in my car because I think Mercedes introduced it not that long after I bought my car, annoyingly. But yeah, more and more cars now have a heated steering wheel, which is brilliant. But yes, there's a variety of other things on here as well. As this is an electric car, there's also a thing called auxiliary heating, or some cars like this one actually have a heat pump where it can actually turn the heating on and de-ice the car or pre-cool the car before you get to it. You can do this via the app or even via a timer on the pre-entry climate control page just up here, and you can adjust different departure times and that sort of thing. Now I did also mention as well there was a thing about the different kind of zones of climate control you can get. So in my car that we saw just a few moments ago, that was dual zone climate control. This, I believe, is quad zone climate control. So Notice this menu bar up here, we have first row seats, so passenger, driver's side, so this side and then your side for example. Second row seats will now do the rear, so we've got quad zone climate control here, and there's also a control panel in the back as well. So yes, if you are lucky enough to have quad zone climate control, or any more than that, or even tri-zone, you'll have a control panel in the back for your rear passengers. Again, very similar controls, so you have adjustments here for where the air goes out and temperature controls, and you simply adjust them like this. Just note that as soon as you touch this, it will turn off sync in the front. So if you find yourself driving by yourself one day and there's a load of hot air in the back for some reason, you don't need to reach behind here, just press sync in the front and it will override everything here. So let me show you now, if I press sync, what happens to this display. And you press sync, everything will go to 22 degrees. So there we go then guys, that is Mercedes-Benz Climate Control explained. Huge shout out to Sandown Mercedes as they help provide access to the cars you saw at the end of the video, so I could help make this video for you. But if you enjoyed this video, I reckon that you're going to like this one here that I did the other week, which is 50 tips and tricks in Mercedes-Benz for 2025. Let me know your thoughts down below, and of course, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, see you then.